about like just your play in general. Like, how often do you play the game? Um, your hero pool, maybe some stuff behind this game if you remember. Just a little bit of context generally.
Uh, Usually I play about 2 or 3 hours a night, sometimes more, a lot more on the weekend because I have no life. I started playing a long time, not like a long, long time ago. I'd say like the end of 2022, but very off and on. My buddy got me into it.
Right. Okay.
And then I kind of like work kind of got in the way, so I took a massive break.
Right. Right.
And then I came back recently, and I was okay with. I mostly used to play Moira and Mercy because
Okay.
it's like the only non-aim intensive ones. But I was like, I don't really
Right.
like
Right.
these that much. But I like Brig more.
Hmm.
But I am just so awful, dude. I don't know what I'm doing, when I'm doing it. With the Moira, I kind of had like a good idea. I think I was like mid gold to high gold on her, but like for some reason I switched character and I'm in the gutter. I'm just getting
Right.
rolled and rolled. I think I try to get in people's face too much. I think you'll see.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. So there's gonna be a large part of it. I mean, there is a lot to Brig. There's like two. I guess some coaches like splitting it into like a micro and macro. In other words, your cooldowns is the micro, and your general playstyle and your positioning is the macro, and your awareness and things like that. Basically, I think the most important thing that I see Brig players do in all ranks generally is not knowing when to walk up and brawl, or and then what will happen is that they either stand too far back and they won't get inspire, they won't be able to swing their mace and they'll get no value, or they will walk up too much and they end up dying on the front line.
so you've been watching me play. Okay.
It's it's the reason why I mentioned that is because I actually play a decent amount of Brig myself, and I've actually seen a
Yeah.
lot of Brig play again over the last, I guess, few months or so. But yeah, we'll see. Again, we'll talk about it throughout. But generally speaking, the time at which you want to walk up and brawl is when other stuff around you is happening. So when your hog is hooking, when your Ash is taking an angle using dynamites, when things are going on and there's big distractions that take attention away from you, that's the best time to walk up as Brig. So usually, like, we can almost break it down to like this almost,
Oh,
right?
and
So,
my alt timing is also so superiorly bad, dude. Every time I pop the thing, I die. I'm like, why do I even do it?
right,
The
well, yeah,
fuck am I doing?
we'll get into it. But
Okay.
we'll generally like your positioning on Brig, like in the pre-fight, so before things even happen, you'll be playing like fairly far away, with like far away roughly, right? And then in the mid-fight, when things start to happen, then you'll start to walk up a little bit more, walk up slash swing, whatever the case may be. It's really important as well that you don't bash in. Your bash is an escape card, really. Like you walk up first, and then if you need to bash out because you're low HP or you get naded or whatever the case may be, then you bash out. Again, I see tons of Brig players use bash aggressively for no real reason. And then you keep sort of rinsing and repeating this essentially. A nice way of thinking about it that I learned from another coach as well is you almost have like an unluckiness meter on your character whenever you walk up. In other words, the longer you stay swinging your mace on the front line, the higher your unluckiness meter goes up essentially.
Okay.
Which basically means that this is more likely for you to just die to random bullshit. So it might be an Arissa Spear, it might be a Widow Headshot, it might be an Arnonade, it just might be Juno Torpedoes, it could be a mixture of those things. But the longer you stay brawling on the front line, the higher your unluckiness meter goes up, and the more likely you are to die to like random stuff. So you kind of want to find that balance between again maximizing the unluckiness meter, so to say, without obviously overextending and dying for it. We'll see how that pans out because there's obviously other stuff with Brig as well. That's just your positioning. There's stuff to do with repair packs and not wasting it, whip shots, your shield usage, your ultimate, of course, as well, and your general awareness about what's going on around you, which I'm sure we're gonna talk about because awareness, especially at this elo, is typically quite low. We'll talk about easy
Yeah.
ways to fix that. But yeah, we'll
Oh, I'm
see how
sure
that pans
everything
out.
is. I'm surprised I'm not bronze, honestly. So
Right, yeah. I mean, in this kind of the big thing is like focusing on the big fish or like the things that are like have to kind of ignore the micro mistakes. Like you might toss out random packs, but if you're feeding every fight because you're pushed up way too much, oh, that's a moth on my screen. Oh, that's scary. But yeah, if you're essentially like what was I gonna say? But yeah, if you're dying every fight because you're too far up, then that's going to be a big issue. That's going to be focused on. But yeah, we'll see how it goes. And yeah, okay. Alright. Okay. Relatively okay-ish so far. So you know they've got Widow because of the shot from spawn. You see they have Orisa. Nothing crazy so far. Playing in the room is fine as well. Okay. Okay. Sure. Fine. Pairback's fine. Okay. Okay. So yeah, we'll keep watching before I say anything here. Okay. Okay, so of course there's a few mistakes there, so I'm not going to go into it too much because nothing crazy happens, so you don't do anything insane. I guess the first thing is, why are you so slow to pack your Cassidy here? You kind of look at him a little bit, and then forget to pack him?
Probably just overwhelmed, I don't know. I'm not
probably
thinking
a
at
little
the time. Yeah.
Right, that might be a theme throughout. The biggest thing I can say to not get overwhelmed in the game is often, have a wide FOV. In other words, if you're playing far back, like if you're playing right about over here, you can kind of see everything on your screen because everything is in your FOV. So you have all the information available to you in terms of who you can help. Similar thing if you're playing right around over here as well. You can just see everything going on in terms of on your screen. This is why also it's really useful to play far back in the beginning of a fight because you can just see everything on your screen and you don't need to brawl immediately.
Yeah, some of the problem I think too, I just feel like I'm not doing anything. You
right.
know what I mean?
But like, here's the thing, right? Do you need to be doing anything right now?
Probably not.
Probably not, right? Why probably not?
Well, they can both come out. Well, he can come out of there, and then yeah, I mean the Juno's looking at the hog there, so
right.
I guess
so
if half the team needs healed, he could just pop back to me.
the key thing that tells you that it's actually okay for you to not hold extremely close here is the aggression from both teams. So right now, Orisa, Sim, Widowmaker, and Ana, literally everyone on this team, they're not doing anything, and neither is your Hog too. Your Hog isn't pushed up, holding this choke really closely, so you need to walk up and brawl them. He's not doing that. Your Cassidy isn't rolling in and doing anything crazy or doing some sort of insane play right now. Your Ashe isn't on some crazy off angle around the statue. There's no big sign of aggression that tells you or signals to you to walk up. And this is really the key thing. It's the visual understanding of what your team were doing that implies how you should play. Because again, if your Hog's playing close, if your Ashe is playing really, really aggressive and swinging in the corner, if your Juno's really pushed up, if your Cass is pushing really aggressively into the room, that implies that you should walk. And you should probably support these characters. Very, very simply, right? And that's just kind of, again, linking to what I said a bit earlier, where because your team are playing really aggressively, you can get away with walking up a little bit more because your Hog's going to be taking the aggression, your Cass is going to be taking the aggression, your Ashe is going to be taking the aggression. So right now you don't need to do anything. There's nothing going on either team here essentially. So you can just chillax, play slow, just pack whoever you need to. And again, if you see your Cass walking up like this, then you can kind of follow your Cassidy, right? Of course, you can look at your teammates through the wall, but when you see your Cass walk up like this and you're playing in this back alleyway, of course you can walk forward and help him out. But yeah, it's generally what I say with awareness and linking back to playing distance at the beginning of fights and then walking up in accordance to who's playing aggressively on your team here. And the one thing that Brig, and not just Brig, but any support in the game is really good at is of course supporting off angles, right? If you're playing Lucio, Moira, Mercy, Brig, I'm gonna say the exact same thing, right? If Cass is aggressing on this angle, help him out. Right, it's fairly simple, and you can see that because he gets the kill onto the enemy Ana here. But yeah, would like to see a pack there. Now, here comes the next, I guess, mistake here. Is it scary or is it dangerous to walk up in front of an Orisa like this?
Probably, yeah. Yeah.
Right,
Say, yeah. Yeah.
Yes, right. She's basically full HP. She's gold right now, and how could she kill you?
Probably like hit me with the spear and then do a little twirl into me.
Yep,
Anything she wants, really.
Right. So she could do. There's the two main ways, right? Again, basically what you just said, right? Spin you into the wall, spin you in, and then kill you, or spin you into a corner, javelin you, and then kill you afterwards. So this becomes really, really scary. And again, this is like the wrong time to sort of walk up forward here. Or rather, go in kissing distance with the Orisa, right? So notice how you can still support your Cassidy, or like, how do I phrase this? How can you support your Cassidy here without putting yourself at a risk from Orisa? How else could you play this?
Gee, I don't know. Other than staying in the back like you told me, I'm not. Maybe done. If I was smart enough to hit him with a pack.
Right. So, what about the distance against Larissa? Right. How close are you to Larissa?
Little too.
Little too close, right? It's a little too close for comfort. So where else could you play that still allows you to help out your Cassidy, but increases this arrow and increases this distance?
On the maybe like by the stairs there, by the
Right?
green stuff.
So run about here, maybe run about here. Right? This would be perfect,
Yeah.
right? Where you've got enough distance to be able to again bash away from Marissa, and you're not going to get spit into the wall, but you can still pack your Cassidy multiple times. I'm not sure if you know. Do you know the healing that your pack does?
I know it does like 25 instantly, right?
Yes, yeah. So it does
And then
25
it like
instantly.
does something over time. I don't remember exactly how much.
Yeah, so I think it's 25 instantly, then it's 50 HPS over 2 seconds, or it's 55 HPS over 2 seconds. Either one. I forgot which one. It's been changed number-wise. But basically, yeah, I'm actually surprised you got the numbers there. But yeah, that's the numbers of the repair pack. So you can spam heal your Cassidy if you need to with the burst healing. We'll get into perks later if we need to. But yeah, that's essentially the way of playing Breaker. And again, if you're playing this corner, right? So you're playing around over here, you're supporting your Cassidy. When would you feel comfortable to walk up forward into the hotel? When would you feel more comfortable walking up like this?
When she's gone.
Exactly.
Or if she dies, or
exactly, right? When she's low HP, when your cast is like dominating the Orisa, when you hear the spear, like she's used the spear and you hear that, maybe when she's gonna go fortify, maybe when you see your hog push up like this, and then maybe the Orisa goes to your hog instead. And that could be a visual cue to tell you to walk up forward here. So again, linking back to the idea of visually looking at your team and the enemy team and seeing how far you could sort of push the needle in terms of how aggressive you can play. Of course, here, I'd say you're pushing the needle a little bit too much. Because if I'm Mr. Orisa right now, right, like, I'm killing either your cast or you. So yeah, and of course in this sort of elo, you're going to get away with this kind of thing. But yeah. Spears you into the wall, right? If that Orisa had used her cooldowns properly, she could spear you into there and then continue spinning. Or yeah, she could javelin you into the wall here, spin into you, and kill you. But yeah,
possibilities kind of endless there.
Right. But yeah. Okay. Paxton Hog is okay. This is kind of the key thing, though, right? So, who did you kind of forget about by going to your hog?
The cast.
The cast, right? And it's the important thing. Who is taking more aggression right now, or who's playing more aggressively? Is it your hog or your Cassidy?
The Cassidy, yeah.
The Cassidy, right? So, and this is the really important thing. Even though your hog is low right now, he's actually fairly safe, right? He's playing cover. No one's really aggressing onto him. You can see through the wall that he's not having to pop his breather animation. He's not having to, like, put the breather to his face. The Juno's still healing him anyways. And by proxy, or by virtue of you leaving your Cassidy, by proxy of you going to your hog here, you're leaving the Cassidy. And in actuality, if I go back to your Cassidy here, he's the one that's playing aggressively. I would expect this guy to walk through the room and start doing stuff, right? Here we go, right? And this is kind of what you need to be supporting as Brig. Or kind of the key thing that's your character's good at. So you're really, really good at sort of threatening and holding these short sightline spaces and supporting your DPS up close. Like, this is what your character's really good at. Because again, if that Orisa turns here and spears the Cassidy into the wall, I'll move my mouse for some reason. Oh, my mouse. There we go. Spears the Cassidy into the wall and dies, that's on you, because you're not supporting him here. Right? And this is the kind of the key thing, is that you're supporting the aggression that heroes are taking. Your hog right now, I know, is getting beamed right now, so I guess packing him here is fine. But he's relatively fine. Again, he's got breather, he's off HP, Juno can still see him. He's okay, essentially, in other words. But yeah. Okay. A quick glance, I think that's fair, to be honest, having a quick glance at your Cassidy, I think that's fair. And then looking back at your hog, I think that's fine. More of that, though, is good. Like, if you're gonna, again, choose the hog here, I want you to be aware of what your Cassidy's doing, I guess, is the important thing. So yeah, the glance onto your Cassidy is good, at least. And it makes because it implies that you're being aware of what he's doing, i.e. taking the angle. Okay, and yeah, after your hog dies, so when does he die? Okay, so you try and help him. Whip's fine. Right, where do you need to go to right now?
Mm, that's a tough one. I don't know, should back off probably,
What?
but then
What?
again, the cast will die too. So maybe back to the cast again, as it's starting to
Right.
become a
So, are
thing.
you putting yourself out of danger by helping your castle here?
Yeah, temporarily, yeah,
Why do you think so?
because everybody, because if wait, how many other if they can't see me in there, you know,
Right. So
if
you're
they're all on
unscouted.
by the statue,
Right. Who else, or not who else rather, but who on your team's creating a distraction for you to push up right now?
would it be him?
It would be him. Right. What is he currently doing?
Yeah, killing somebody at the
Yes.
widow.
Killing the Widowmaker or flashing the Widowmaker right now with the big scary white flash. And this again, this is basically what you need to be supporting, right? So this is the important thing. And again,
So is that like
players,
a pretty hard set rules, or just like I'm trying to like simplify it for myself here,
right.
make the
Um,
right decision.
it's supporting aggression is your character, or like any support in the game. I think that's really the basic
So
fundamental of
that's
it.
what you want to do, support aggression.
Right,
Okay.
support aggression on your team here. And again, your cast is playing aggressively, so help support him, right? And again, you yourself can even play aggressively here to some extent, right? Maybe you throw a whip shot towards the Widowmaker, finish her off, right? Maybe you look after you kill the Widowmaker, right? Maybe you walk up with your Cassidy, and then you can like go on the Symmetra and the enemy Orisa, who are currently low right now. So you could eventually look to brawl yourself, and you could eventually look to play aggressively. And again, as I sort of mentioned here a little bit earlier, you can eventually start walking up here when the Orisa was back over here in the hotel. You can eventually start walking up a little bit more once you see triggers to do so, or once you see an opportunity to do so that's safe,
So
right?
I just don't need to be obsessed with always doing something.
Yeah, exactly, right? You don't need to be obsessed with always doing that or always doing something. I have a saying that I tell players, which is like, you don't want to jeopardize mid-fight value because you are so fixated on getting value early on. I see it all the time with tracers and balls and or just heroes in general that will play or do something really early that will affect how they can get value later on in the mid-fight when things are already going on. And right now, things are going on. Your cast is doing stuff right now, and he needs help. And you can walk in this room very safely right now and help him out. Right? This also
Yeah.
links to another idea too that I have, which is just because you're playing aggressively in this room does not mean you're putting yourself at danger. I think a lot of players think that just because something is aggressive, that means that means it's dangerous, right? That doesn't have to always be the case, right? You can aggress into this room without it being dangerous, right? If you play in this hotel right now, who on the enemy team can come for you?
Pretty much nobody.
But literally, pretty much nobody. It's literally free value right now for you to push this room and help your Cassidy. There's no cost to it at all. It's only rewards. So it's this kind of like low hanging fruits, I guess is the saying, that
Yeah,
you
it'd
really
just
want to
be
be
hard to
finding.
identify this. Just trying to identify it while it's happening.
Right?
Yeah.
And I guess the key thing was noting or being aware of your Cassidy taking the right side, and again understanding that being in the room is actually fine. Again, you can be in the room. You haven't got to brawl. You haven't got to walk forward here and put yourself at direct risk, at least yet. Just play in the room, give your Cass a pack, hit a whip shot. That's it. And if they come and get you, if the sim TPs, if the Orisa spins, you bash away, and you're fine, right? So that's kind of the key thing. As kind of what I was.
I
Hopefully
got
we
a
get to
question
see.
that's not
Yeah, go on.
related to this one, but like, how do you play against like super far range? Do I just find a second hero to play? Because like it seems
Right.
like those are
So
even.
against ranged characters, you kind of need to play a little bit more. I think flanky is kind of the wrong word, but you want to find like these really short sight-lined off angles. Again, Hotel's kind of the perfect case here. Where again they're running a ranged character like Widowmaker, they're running a fairly ranged backline in that of Junowana. Like if you can support these short off angle sight lines, that's really key. It can be pretty difficult to again obviously walk up
Yeah.
against like high poke comps like Zen for example is really annoying. Like I do get that. Even
Because there's like a lot. There's a lot of a lot of flying characters down here, and
right, and yeah, a lot of flying characters. Yeah, the big thing I say is, and I don't want to make this too complicated because I have to say this to to Tracer players when they play against Cassidy's and whatnot, and just characters that play into their counters. But you want to play in such a way that if the enemy, if whoever your counter is, so let's say Farah, for example, right? If she wants to come and get you, she needs to put herself in direct danger to do so. And that's really the important thing. And I say it to Tracer players when they're playing to Cassidy. I say it to Doomfist players when they're playing into Sombra. I say it to big players when they're playing into Farah. Where if the Farah wants to come and get you, or wants to come and damage you, she needs to put herself at direct risk to do so. So if you play in this room here, the only way Farah can come and get you is by walking into the room. But that is actually fairly scary for Farah, because you can brawl her. You can swing her, you can block her rockets, you can whip shot her fairly easily, you can demolish half of HP fairly quickly actually, and again you can do that one-shot combo thing, where you bash, swing, and then whip shot, and that's three quarters of a HP gone, right? Farah does not want to fight you in these short and closed spaces. So whenever you can, try and find spaces that again it becomes difficult or becomes risky for the enemy counter hero to come and get you. The big thing I say, but yeah, we'll see here. Okay. Right, and yeah, you can see there right now, like your Cassidy just walked through the entire team and just demolished, you know, like the enemy Widowmaker and the enemy Orisa here, right? But if we put the camera here, right about here, right, and now
Sorry, buddy.
Yeah, and now we say, okay, well, I'm packing my my Cassidy right now. I'm packing my Cassidy. I'm hitting the whip shot on, so I'm whipping the Symmetra away, so she can't beam the Cassidy. Then I can help rule out the Orisa and kill the Orisa, right? Like, this is what your character's good at, or any character in the game is good at, or any support character, right? But this is the big fish, so to say. Okay. Right, somehow your Cassidy lives that, but that's pretty clutch with casts. Okay. This is fine, sure. Fine. Okay. Guess another pick, sure. There's a small thing, right? One thing you could be doing is third-person scouting. So you could, as in, play this corner, hold up your shield, and then because you go into third person, you can peek around the corner and see where people are at. It just gives you a little bit more awareness on where targets are. And of course, you can see your Cassidy through the wall anyways in the game. So yeah, small thing there. Really useful in at the beginning of fights where you can use that person. Okay, no fortify. Okay. Sure. Sure. Okay. 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 So nothing crazy so far, and in fact, I mean, right now your team are looking to essentially rotate through the hotel, like almost like do like a map flip. In other words, your team are basically moving through here, and the enemy team are kind of doing ring around the rosy. So this is like fairly fine. You can do this. There's nothing crazy about it. But yeah, nothing insane so far.
You just wait. I'm sure there's some crazy shit in here.
Right, so your cast gets a pick. Okay. Okay. Fine-ish. Okay. So this comes down into you playing a little bit too passive for what you're given. So it's almost like the opposite mistake that we saw at the beginning of first fight, where you're playing a little bit too passive for what you're given. So what's your Cassidy doing right now?
Is that him right there in front of us?
Yes, that is him.
Alright, popping off up there.
Right, what is he doing right now specifically?
Oh, was that his ult? Yeah.
That is his ultimate. Right, he's using High Noon. Right, what does that imply?
But he's probably in a pretty decent spot. He knows something's going on.
Sure. What are the enemy team going to look at when the cast pops High Noon?
They're gonna start darting.
Moving away,
Take
sure.
off.
Right?
Yeah,
Who if they're gonna look at a target, who is it gonna be?
Well, since they're coming around the corner, probably me.
Really? During your High Noon? Who are you more scared of, your High Noon or you?
Oh yeah, I just figured whenever I hear it, I just hide. So, I'm not sure. Yeah, probably him.
Right, probably him. Right, so does that give you an opportunity to walk up?
Yeah.
Right, it does, because again, your Cassidy is drawing attention. Right, you can think of this High Noon like as a massive attention draw, for the enemy team. And if I zoom out, right, and you can see what the entire enemy team are looking at, right? I've got one arrow from the Genji's looking at the Cassidy, Arna's looking at the Cassidy, and Orisa is also looking at the Cassidy. So you can support your Cassidy by, how can you support your Cassidy here?
Pack him.
Packing him, what else?
Maybe could I shield something off from him?
Maybe, right? Who might go onto the Cassidy?
Maybe the sleep dart if she has one.
Maybe, so okay, so
Oh, there's
maybe,
this.
right, so maybe
Oh, the
whipping on
I
her
didn't.
way, right? What
Yeah, I
else?
didn't. I mean the Genji's right there too.
Right, so maybe
He
whipping
probably.
the Genji away, right?
Yeah.
So this is where your character, again, this is where we get into the micro, so to say, about how you can use your abilities based on supporting your caster here. So again, we talked about packing him, which is the very obvious thing to do. We talked about, again, whipping certain targets away, again, based on aggression. If Genji's playing aggressively, whip the Genji, that is simple. And again, you could even shield something off, maybe, right? So maybe you can shield off, if you're lucky enough, either the sleep dart, maybe the javelin too. That's the important part. So when I see you not walk up here, right, like you should be walking up right now in front of your Cassidy, because right now, look how much attention your Cassidy's drawing. Right, the Genji is looking at your Cassidy. Every single person on the enemy team right now is looking at your Cassidy. This is free value onto the Genji. Right, if you walk in this room, walk out, who's going to look at you?
Maybe Symmetra.
I mean, she's dead right now, actually.
Oh, right now. Oh, she did. Okay, then probably nobody.
Nobody, right? And this is when you walk up, right? So again, I mentioned this. I mentioned this at the beginning about how at the beginning of fights you play far away, get a LOS, and then in the mid fight when big attention cooldowns are used, like High Noon, like an ultimate, like someone playing a really aggressive position, that gives you time to walk up and brawl and you swing people, right? You can swing at this Genji and get him to half HP, maybe even kill him if you're lucky too, right? And if he looks at you, that's fine. That's completely fine as well, because that's attention drawn off your Cassidy. Your Cassidy's gonna thank you for getting the Genji off of him if you walk through this room. Of course, you can pack him too. So this is the important thing of Brick, is that you're earlier, as we saw against the Orisa, you're walking forward when you shouldn't be, because she's playing. It's too dangerous here, essentially, right? Because she can just spear you into a wall. His attention is fully focused on you. But now, when no one can actually look at you, or no one's going to bother looking at you, you don't walk up and play aggressively. And this is kind of the key thing, right? And again, it's all based on aggression and what attention is being drawn. And when you walk up too, as well, right? Again, you're walking up when your cast, or it doesn't have to be a casty here, but your hog or someone on your team is drawing attention away. It's that simple. Who knows, right? And it's a little bit too little, too late there, sadly, where you whip the Genji away, couldn't pack your casty. But yeah, a little bit unfortunate that. A little bit unfortunate. Okay, we'll see here. Okay, bashing away, that's fine. Your Proc's probably going to die. Probably. We'll see. Oh, he gets a pick. Okay. Okay. Don't use rally. Okay, bash out, good. I think rally that's actually not terrible. I know I said don't rally that, but considering the Terra Switch came out, I don't hate it. Again, I think you're in a 3v3 right now. You're in a 3v3. Yeah, I think rally is relatively okay. I don't mind it. Yeah, I think it's a fine rally. Bash is okay. Cool. I'm not gonna cry about the micro too much. Okay. Cool.
Lost her there.
Yeah, so missing some so there's definitely some micro that I could talk about here, right? So of course Sim is very low right now. She is roughly, I'm not sure if you can see that, but she's about half a bar of HP. So yeah, just the bash, swing, and then whip shot combo will either kill her or get her very low. But yeah, unfortunately you don't whip the Symmetra here, sadly, and then you miss some swings, which won't really be happening on Brig because again your character's not aim focused. But yeah, eventually kill her. Right, fine. Okay, let's see here. Your Michael will come with time. How many hours do you have in the game? I'll ask.
On Brig.
Yeah.
Let's see.
Give or
Just
take.
pure Brig only. I think maybe like my other account, I can't log into it. It probably had like 16 hours. This one's 14.
Okay, that's not that much at all. Yeah. Okay, yeah, that's completely fine. You'll definitely catch the rhythm of Brig as you play more of the character for sure. But yeah. Okay. Gas gets naded there. Not much you can do about it. It's nade. It's not too much you can do about it. Okay. There is in high level. There is like micro you can do against nade, i.e. shooting off the nade and tanking it. But I'm not gonna get into that for now. Okay. See here. Okay. Okay, so a few things, right? Do I even talk about that now? Yeah, I guess the main thing here, right? Why walk up so aggressively here?
No clue why I do what I do, man. I don't. I think I was
Right.
just looking to get some sort of hit
Right,
or
and I think it
re-inspire.
right. I think it relates back to what you said about wanting to get value as early as possible, even if that jeopardizes your life or the value that you might get in the mid fight. And to me, that's what it looks like right now. You're so desperate for a whip shot that you're willing to push up this close against a Genji, and good Genjis in higher ranks will either kill you or get very close to killing you with a one-shot combo. Like this guy will dash one-shot you, and then deflect out if he's good enough. But yeah, this is way too risky. Again, it's giving me shades of the Orisa fight over here, where again you're way too close to these targets. And again, good
Well,
players will
I guess
punish
it's
you for
good
it.
that it. I guess it's good that it keeps popping up, so that way I can catch it as it's
Yeah,
happening.
yeah. I don't worry about whip shotting. It's not like again you don't need the whip shot right now. You know your Hog's fine. There's nothing going. There's nothing going on right now. You know it's in the mid fight when things are going on and your team actually needs healing. That's when landing the whip shot becomes useful or becomes important. But that's not the case right now. No one's gonna benefit out of a whip shot here. Not really.
Yeah.
But yeah. Okay. And then you bash away onto your Hog instead of going and threatening and controlling this area. So we'll see if it comes up because I think it's important. But Genji
Oh
ends up
yeah.
dying. Yeah, right.
This is all
So
very insightful. Taking a look at it.
and why do you end up and
Because I
say
mean,
why?
I could have sat here and looked at it, for an hour, and I never would have came up with any of this stuff.
Yeah. I guess that one key thing of playing Brig as well is I've mentioned this a little bit earlier. Again, I'm not going to emphasize it too much because I don't want to overload your plate, so to say, or give you too much stuff to think about and work on. But it is important in high level play, which is threatening in short sightlined angles. So by playing here in this hotel, what are the sightlines for a hotel? Do you like the sightlines in hotel generally?
Yeah, kind of makes it easy
Right?
because I mean, there's only one way in, and that's around the team or through the front door.
Right? It's not it's enclosed. It's nice. You can rule fairly easily. It's decent for your character.
Yeah, and I'm sure I can pull it off, but it's kind of hard to miss the whip shot in the door too. But
Right.
I can do that pretty
Right.
easily.
So you can threaten or control this space here, right? But by you bashing away to the statue, you're giving up this area effectively. You're saying to the Genji, you know what, Genji, you can have this room for free. You can flank around for free. I'm giving you this room. You can go into my Juno. You can go into my backline. You can take the hotel. This is what you're saying to the Genji here effectively. So this is one of the key things with Brig is your ability to threaten and control these spaces. Now, it's important to understand this slight distinction. When I say threaten and duel, I don't mean kill the Genji, right? So if you're holding this space, so let's say you bashed away to here.
Yeah.
So yeah, now you bashed this. Actually, let's say you bashed to here, right? And the Genji
Mhm.
comes at you. You don't need to kill him, right? All you need to do is threaten him and make sure and scare him away from taking this angle and taking the space. That's all you need to do on this character. Again, I don't even expect you to win a duel against a good Genji, but I expect you to at least threaten the Genji here and make it hard for him to control this space here. And that's going to help protect your Cassidy and your Ashe as well, your backline, your Juno, by preventing the Genji from walking in the room. Now, of course, the Genji ends up dying here to your Hog, but I bring this up because it is a really important idea.
Yeah, it's really.
But yeah, again, if the Genji had a little bit, I don't know why he just moves out on open space, but regardless, right? And it's not just the Genji, right? If I'm the Ana on this team here, I'm wanting to flank through here to try and get a big fat nade on your backline, right? It's not just Genji, right? But yeah, it's a very important idea to threaten these angles here when you can. Okay, we'll see here. The hog gets naded. Fortunate, not too much you can do about it. Okay. Okay, sure. Actually, I actually like this position a lot, right? I was expecting you to bash back to your Juno and play in the alleyway, but again, I'm actually happy you're playing here, right? The Orisa May cannot punish you by walking into the room, right? And this is what I meant by, you know, we're talking about the counter thing, right? When how do you play
I
into
think I
counters?
probably would have, if that wall wasn't there, I probably would have tried to escape.
Right. So it might have been unintentional because the wall's in the alleyway.
Yeah.
But this is what I meant earlier about playing into counters like Farah. Because if this May wants to come and get you, is she putting herself at danger?
Yeah.
Yes.
From 2 other people.
Right, from your cast and your Juno, right? And even yourself as well. Again, you can burst down a May fairly easily. Bash whip shot, that's good. That's Mace HP. Half of her HP's gone there. So this is what I meant, and this is again how you would play into counters normally, like a Farah, for example. But not just Farah, of course we can see it applies here. But yeah. Okay. And so this bash back is unnecessary, right? Is the key thing here. And again, you can see the May, right? She's having to put herself in open space to come and get you. She's torn between looking at you and looking at your Cassidy and looking at your Juno, right? This is exactly what you want. And can you still help your Cassidy from this room?
Yeah.
Yeah, you can, right? And you're not putting yourself in danger. You're completely fine. You're completely safe playing here, you know? So you haven't got to leave this angle. Gonna give them space for it for free. Which could have been quite nice, man. Again, when we talk about brawling forward here, right, if I play it back here, and again, talking about, okay, when do I brawl as big? When do I walk up? When do I look to get some swings? This would be a good time, right? Why would this be a good time to walk up as Brig and brawl?
Because the ults are coming out.
Sure, yeah, I mean, that's part of it. I think, what's it called? Bob's coming out. I think you don't want to swing an orbital ray or into their ultimates. You ideally want to kite away and kite back, but that is part of it, right? The Bob is coming out, so the Bob will draw attention. Who else is drawing attention right now?
And my best friend Cassidy there is always.
Cassidy, right? The mate is locking eyes with your Cassidy right now. You can double pack your Cassidy, send them some repair packs, walk forward, swing at the May, whip shot the May, and if you're in danger, maybe from the orbital ray, bash back into the room, and you're all good, right? So again, you can kind of see how again you're playing, not far away, but you're playing some distance. Then when people start to draw attention, then you walk up, you swing a few times, you bash away. Maybe again you're scared of the Orisa, you're scared of the Ray, whatever the case. You bash back, and then you rinse and repeat. That's your general rhythm as Brig. But yeah. Okay. Alright, so again, after the May Cryo, then ideally you'd be back here right now. So then after the May Cryo leaves, or after the Cryo breaks, then you'd be walking up a little bit more. Okay. Sure, again you can clear the Genji, that's fine too. Okay, your blade's coming out. Okay. There's probably some micro that I can probably look through here that causes the fight loss. Right. Okay. The whip slightly missed, and then you can actually bash the Genji right now, because a bash does 50 damage. He's basically 51 HP or 52 HP, right? He's got like a very slight slither of HP. So if you bash into the Genji, he probably will die. But a small bit of micro there. Nothing crazy. Okay. The good news is that they have to use 4 ultimates to win that fight. Or 3, compared to your 1 or 2. That's completely fine. Okay. We'll see here in a second. Okay.
Yeah, this is like where I'm like, what should I do? I don't know what to do. But now I do.
Okay, so your Ash does there. Not too much you can do about your Ash there, to be honest. Fire awareness on you. Again, this is why awareness is so important. Look how long it took you to pack your Juno, right? Like, still crit HP the entire time. And now you pack your Juno, right? It doesn't seem that long, right? But a few seconds can be make or break, especially when you climb ranks, you know? So again, I would be expecting you to hold back a little bit further back. Here's fine as well, but make sure you're looking around. If you're going to play a little bit far up, you have to look around. But yeah, if you want to make things easy for yourself, you can just play back here. And the pack is really easy to land. But yeah.
Okay. So I'm learning I need to play a little further back most of the time.
Right, yeah, at the beginning, generally, yeah, the general rhythm is at the beginning of fights, a little bit further back, but when things start to happen, then you can walk up a little bit more. As we kind of saw against the Mages there. Okay. Egg whips unfortunates, right? So you tunnel on the Genji here a lot, right? And you forget that your Cassidy is right there. in front of your team. You can send them packs. Now, I'm not sure if he's going to live for this, right? But this is kind of the awareness thing on Brig, where a lot of the time you will have an opportunity cost, where, i.e., the opportunity cost of looking at the Genji is your cast gets speared and dies. So again, it's the awareness is really the key thing, and being aware of what your Cassidy is doing right now. Because right now, is the Genji a threat to your team right now?
And that goes back to the keeping the eye on the aggression stuff too.
Right. Because right now, he will play aggressively eventually, but your immediate attention is on the Cassidy, right? You can see him through the wall, he's critical HP, he's running away, right? He needs help right now. But this Genji, who cares about him? He's not doing anything right now. So help your Cassidy first, and then you can whip the Genji away, that's all fine. So again, it's linked to the aggression. Okay. Yeah, down to just bash back. Trying to stagger out here. Okay. Away, sure. Okay. Okay. So again, I appreciate you taking your own angle here. What's the opportunity cost by you going to the right side here, or taking this angle?
Well, now the hog is by himself, unless the Juno is over there.
Sure.
I can see her there.
If I'm this Genji, where might I want to play this map?
You might want to do the flank.
Right.
Where I'm at.
Yeah. Do you mean the flank on the high grounds?
Oh, I mean that too, yeah. I thought maybe he might. Sometimes they're a little slippery. I thought maybe he might be coming around that corner, and then I was like, oh, whip shot. Okay, I'm gonna do that because I'm stupid.
So again, I don't mind you play. So in different contexts, playing here is fine, right? When might it be fine to swing this angle?
Maybe if someone else is with me.
Right. So again, if someone else is playing aggressively, i.e., an Ashe or a Cassidy, this position looks a lot less, or also a lot more reasonable to do, because again, you're enabling the aggression for whatever DPS is playing here. If the Genji comes and dashes, you pack them. I.e., your DPS, you pack them, and of course you whip the Genji away. You bash away, great distance, and you're fine, right? That's the context, right? This angle, no one really cares about it that much. No, because there's no one on your team that's really leveraging. It's really the angle or preventing the Genji from taking an aggressive angle that's a scary thing right now. So it's something that's a bit map specific, I guess you can call on this map here. But I would expect you to rotate. It's going to be a bit long, but rotate, especially when your team are coming back from spawn. Go from here all the way up here. So essentially, you go back up here, go up the stairs, right, and then play around here, right. What might be the benefit or the benefits of playing up here?
Well, I could actually do stuff from there. If he does come through that door, I'm kind of right there.
Right, you can mark the doorway quite nicely. Why else is this a good position to play?
If people are taking damage, I can pack them.
Right, you can see everything. Again, you're far away. You've got good LOS. You've got an easy time looking at who you need to pack. Why else? Are you safe here?
Yeah, pretty much.
Cover, distance, right? So I've got 4 rules of positioning. I probably should have mentioned at the beginning. But they kind of apply here, which are divided up here. It's in my Brigitte guide. It's most of my guides, anyways. But the cover, LOS or line of sights, to both teams ideally. Teams, distance from angles, and then also rotation, which we'll talk about in a brief moment.
Okay.
Both aggressive and defensive. Right, so very simple. You have cover here. That's fairly obvious, right? LOS, you can see everything. Fairly obvious. Distance from angles. What I mean by that is this is an angle, right? Genji might come through here. Genji might come through here, right? You can essentially defend yourself against both of these angles if you're playing up the side down here, because you've got distance, right? You can see the Genji and react to him in time because you've got distance against him, right? If he comes through this doorway here, or he comes through the right side, you've got distance against the Genji. So that's what I mean by distance from angles. Now the rotations thing, aggressive and defensive. What I mean by a defensive rotation, very simply, is just an escape path, right? So from here, you can escape down here, or you can escape down here and get the mini, right? Fairly easy escape path, nothing crazy. The aggressive rotation is walking up, right? So
Hmm.
how could you walk up here? If you're starting here, how could you walk up? What could you do?
Or do you mean like why would I? Or
How? So let's say you're starting in this fight here, and let's say the fight is occurring around this corner, right? It's around this. How would you be able to walk up? What could you do?
just walk on that ledge there?
Yeah, right. Walk on the ledge, come over the catwalk, and then play this corner. That's fine. You could also just drop off and then walk with your tank forward. That's fine as well, right? Maybe then, right? If you're playing here and you spot your Cassidy flanking around here, then you can drop down and then take the angle with the Cassidy here, right? So that's what I mean by aggressive rotation. Just moving your character to an aggressive position based on the outcome of a fight, or based on what your team are doing, right? If you're playing here and you spot your Ashe, take an angle, you help your Ashe. Fairly simple. Very similar to what we saw on First Point King's Row, over here, where if you play in this alleyway and you spot your Cassidy flanking through here, you walk up and up your Cassidy.
Start moving with them.
Right, exactly, right? Fairly simple. Right, same thing if you're playing here, right? Maybe you're starting here on this corner, right? You see your Cassidy walk through here, right? You used to be referring back to the the fight where the Cassidy was fighting the Widowmaker fairly easily. You just walk up here, play this corner, and up your Cassidy, right? It's the exact same thing. So that's what I mean by those 4 rules there. It's kind of how I break it down. You won't have it all the time. You won't have the 4 rules all the time, but as many as you can is really important. But yeah, this would be a great starting position to be in. And I say starting position because Overwatch is dynamic. I wouldn't expect you, nor want you, to stand here the entire time, right? I would expect you to move up a little bit, maybe even bash over here. Who knows, right? But yeah, I think that's the general templates I want to give or outline in terms of your position. But yeah, okay, we'll see here. And again, this position is fine, right? It's not terrible. You can brawl with your hog, right? You can pack your hog. You can swing on the corner. You've got this cover here to use, right? It's not a terrible position, but it's like if the Genji comes up high grounds, you can't do anything about it, right? Because you're not preventing him. You can't see. You don't know that the Genji could be coming up there in the first place, right? You're lucky that he's standing down main. I think. Where is he? Where's Genji? He's flanking out. He's doing whatever, right? This flank's basically useless.
He's pulling a me. He's doing a me.
But yeah, he's not doing much. Right? You're lucky that he's not taking a good angle here, or someone on like their Mei. Mei's not a bad example, but their Ana could be flanking around the side here and get a big nade onto your team. If I'm coaching that Ana, I'm saying that to that Ana. I'm saying Ana, flank left side and look for a big nade on the enemy team right now. Because that's gonna determine the fight, and you as Brig can prevent that. By playing a little bit further away. I think that the visual cue for you to walk up here, if you're starting here, what would tell you to walk up and brawl? What would be the visual cue or visual cues?
When the cooldowns or ults are going.
Yeah, so Mei Cryo is one, right? Mei Cryo means that she's more squishy, right? So you can walk up and push that, right? Maybe your hog hits a hook and gets someone low, right? Then you can maybe push up off of that, right? Maybe your Juno pops Ray, right? So you want to drop down, walk in the Ray. That's fine as well. Cassidy pops High Noon. You want to walk with High Noon? Sure, that's fine. Maybe you've got Rally and you want to brawl with Rally. That's fine as well, right? I like calling these triggers, basically. Triggers. So again, the cooldown could be a trigger. Your ultimates could be triggers. HP could be triggers. Positioning could be a trigger, right? As we kind of mentioned, with the Cassidy flanking around. That is a positional trigger to walk up. All those kind of triggers that essentially tell you to walk up. But yeah. Okay. Okay, Fashion was fine. Okay. And this is what I meant earlier. Well, this is another benefit of playing the high grounds, is that you're never having to worry about getting pulled in by Terror Surge, or having to, play on the front a little bit too early, because had you been on high ground here, you would avoid the Terror Surge entirely, right? And now, after the Terror Surge has been used, and when your Ray and Kainu are out, this would be the perfect time to drop down and start brawling. But yeah, this is why you're playing a little bit too close, a little bit too early. There hasn't been enough cooldowns to walk up off of. But yeah.
I just gotta come to terms with just chilling.
Right. And now, like, the time when you should be walking up, because you've got Ray on cart, and your cat is taking, at the time he's taking the Genji aggression away, this is when you should be walking up right now. But you're not, because you got low from beforehand, you know? Again, this is, I think, referring back to something you mentioned earlier, about how, you know, you're looking for value so early on in the fight that it's jeopardizing the immense value you could be getting in the mid fight when it matters the most, right? Because you want to play this corner so close and get value right now immediately. Look at your value right now. You're doing nothing, right? You're not brawling in the raid. You're not packing your Cassidy. You're not whipping the Genji away. You know, you're not deterring the risk from walking up at all in the raid. I'm not farming up rally, right? You're not doing any of that right now because you're so focused on getting value early on, when it didn't really matter that much. But yeah. Okay, pack's good there. Again, I would expect to walk up right now, right? So, the Genji's dead, right? The most aggressive target on the team is dead right now. Your HP, you're basically full HP right now. I would pack the Cassidy and start walking, right? Slowly start walking. Of course, be careful of Javelin, right? So I would shield the corner here to avoid Javelin, right? But I would definitely start walking. Look at your Cassidy, right? Naded us all, right? And you don't pack him in time. There was a brief moment in time where you could have packed him. You didn't pack him at all there, right? Again, your aggression is a little bit too little, too late, right? I need that rally right now. I need you to be here on top of the Orisa with rally and pushing with the Cassidy. If you're gonna push it with him, right? It's the aggression that you need to be paying attention to. So yeah.
And it's all coming back to that.
Yeah, I was looking back to the aggression. Yeah. Okay. All right. Of course, this rally's a little bit too late. Yeah, because of that, it's too little, too late. Sadly. Honestly, I think I would have. It's a bit of micro. I'm not gonna cry about it too much. But because Nade had been used, I would have just bashed straight onto the enemy Ana and try and outbrawl her. And then try and block her sleep dart if she still has it. But yeah, it's just a bit of micro there. I'm not gonna cry about that too much. Okay.
Gotta take the baby steps.
Right. Okay. Hey, I'm not gonna cry about micro like in terms of packing someone or getting the perfect rally or hitting the perfect whip shot or the bash or whatever. I don't really care about that too much. I really care about.
I mean, I don't have any dreams of playing professionally, but I'd like to make it to middle rank at some point in my life.
I think genuinely, like if you essentially just help targets on your team that are aggressive, you will without a doubt get gold immediately, or get platinum immediately. I think that if you nail down the positional stuff, you'll get to that elo very quickly. You'll minimize your deaths. You'll be able to help out your team a lot more, and you'll climb that rank very quickly. But yeah. Okay, we'll see here at that point. So, what was Cassidy just doing a second ago?
Was he in that? It's to the left shooting, probably.
Right, so
wherever I'm not.
Nice.
Poor guy. I want to like add him as a friend and apologize to him.
Right, so he's taking an angle here, right? Or he's sitting here right now, right? He's getting ready to flank left side. Good angle, right? So of course, right now, you don't need to be doing anything because he's not doing anything, right? So there's no aggression, right? But just getting ready. It's being aware of what your team are doing. So just be aware of the Genji, be aware of what Cassie's doing, and then get ready to walk up when the Cassie starts doing stuff, right? Get ready to bash, hack him, help him, and yeah. Okay, nice. Okay. Right, so, can you help your hog here?
I could have. No, not now.
No, when the nade comes out, no, you cannot. Unfortunately, you are not Kiriko. So let your hog die. It is what it is. You can hit whip shot. That's fine. You can whip shot Davis away. That's fine. But don't jeopardize your position for one dead target. You know your hog is going to die here. Don't worry about it too. Right. Just focus on the aggression from your Cassidy because you know he's still to the left side here. Because right now again you're jeopardizing your position here because of it. Now again we're back into a scenario very similar to the very first fight, right, where we're matching Nerissa head on, right? Yeah, and yeah, she misses her javelin, and a second of you walking up here, your HP has already exploded to 100 HP, already exploded down to 100 HP, right? So we're brawling when we shouldn't be, right? Is that aggression from anyone on your team?
Maybe Cassidy, but then of course I'm not there.
Maybe Cass, right? But that's not really enough, right? There's not a big fat hog here drawing attention on the front line. Right? There's nothing like that happening, right? So don't walk up here when there's not when you're essentially the bait for your team, right? The Cassidy is playing aggressively off of what you're doing here, off of the feeding that you're doing here effectively. So you're going to die for this essentially.
Yeah.
I would expect you to die for this. Okay, maybe not. There we go. Eventually, right? Yeah. Again, in high elo, you'll just get blown up immediately. The rest will just javelin you, and you'll die immediately. But again, you can see how there's no trigger for you to walk up there. There's nothing. Again, there's no cooldown. There's no ultimate. There's no positional threat from your Cassidy. There's nothing there at all. Your Hog's not playing aggressively at all, really. There's nothing that's again telling me or telling you to actually walk up there and play aggressively. And actually, right now, again, you can see you'd love to be here. Right, threaten this angle, support your DPS, scare these guys off, right, and help out with Cassidy. This is the aggression you can be helping out with. Unfortunately, you don't.
So much sense.
Like this is it, right? This is it, right? Like you need to be here right now, or you could have been here right now, brawling and bashing and whipping and packing and doing stuff to these two characters. I don't care what you do. I don't care about the micro. Just this is what needs help right now. I think that's the biggest takeaway. I think the entire VOD so far is helping teammates, especially DPS that are aggressive. And so far this VOD, it's been that Cassidy. But in other games it might not be. It might be a Genji that's playing aggressively. It might be a Tracer. It could be, God knows. You know, it could be your own Ashe, for example. Here, it doesn't really matter who, but the aggression needs to be helped.
Okay.
So yeah,
it makes so much sense.
And in games as well, because your Cassie's actually playing fairly well. In games, if the Cassie's not doing this kind of thing, he's not taking an angle, take it yourself, right? Deter the Genji away, as I kind of mentioned earlier, right? Threaten him away. You don't need the Cassie to be here to threaten the Genji away, right? If the Cass is stacking main, not taking an angle, take it yourself, right? Threaten the Genji away and control the space. In case, again, you find games where, you know, your team aren't taking angles. But yeah. Okay. That could have been won very easily, to be honest, right? If you live there, you 2v1'd that Genji, you win that fight, or you get that kill, and that fight becomes so much more winnable. But yeah. Okay, we'll see here. Okay, sure. Yeah, so like, again, I get why you want to walk up here, right? Because you want to control this angle here, which makes sense. But yeah, I think this is what it is. I don't really care about it too much. But yeah. Okay, whip's fine. Fine. So again, this distance is quite nice, right? They're using orbital ray and they're pushing forwards. You play back a little bit. That's fine, right? What is your Ashe currently doing? What has been thrown out right now?
Fishy Bob?
The Bob, right? The Bob's been thrown out. So, what does that tell you?
That I could that they're all going to be looking at that or her, and I might be able to come up and take a couple swings.
Right. So let's see if you do that.
Probably not.
Okay, so whip's okay. Yeah, probably not. Right. So, but again, here's where again you can actually walk up a little bit. You don't need to get the most amount of swings in they're already backing up off the Bob, which is fine, right? So you don't need to get the most amount of swings in the world. I would expect you to walk up from the Bob. Because again, they're not going to be looking at you. They're going to be looking at the Bob. Okay, you are actually walking up a little bit. Okay. Okay. Not packing because they're antied, obviously. Packs are fine. Okay. We'll see here. Okay. Okay. And again, notice how you ignored your Cassidy the entire time, right? Again, you're so focused on getting the whip shot early that you forget that you're Cassidy, right? There you go to his POV, right? 100 HP right now, 50 HP, needs packs immediately, and in fact it's your Juno that's doing the most of the work. Ooh, yeah, Cassidy's help, man. He's severe help. So again, if you're feeling like you're over, I don't mind you pushing up here. I don't mind it, right? But if you feel like you're overwhelmed a bit too much and you're just not aware of things, again, the easy fix is just take a step back.
Play back.
Right, so you can see it. That's the easy fix. Again, I don't mind you walking up here, that's fine. But if you lack awareness, you're struggling with awareness and getting overwhelmed, that's the easy fix. Right, the Cassidy there, fine. Hog gets exploded, that's fine. The Hog gets exploded there, not much you can do. Okay. Cast dies there, right? Okay. The hit team just die early, that it happens, right? The only thing I could say is bashing back here and playing your own angle, and then trying to pack your teammates when you can. And then maybe playing for a late trade early, or playing for a late trade is all I can say really. That fight was going to be lost regardless after your cast died. Maybe there might be one, who knows. Okay, spin. Yeah, it's just micro. Okay. It's probably going to be cap. Right, that's cap. Okay. We'll do a quick summary here, and I'll answer any questions that you have at the ends. Okay.
Yeah,
We'll
I think
use.
I already got enough to work on for.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
We'll use. Yeah, we'll use this wall. Why not? Okay. So, first thing. Normally what I do with the summary is that I do 3 key points and I try and order it in terms of what's the most impactful thing to work on, but also what is going to be the easiest thing for you to work on too.
Okay.
So ideally, I want both, right? Something that's easy to work on, but also impactful. And I think that the thing that's going to be that for you. Let me think. So all the 3 points as well are going to be interconnected. Like they're going to link into each other anyways. So you're effectively going to be working, even if you work on one specifically, you're going to by virtue work on the other stuff too. But I'd probably say, let me think. Okay, yeah, I'll say this. I'll say, generally, playing distance. I'm not gonna say far. Like I don't want you playing like a Zen, but just playing some distance. At the start fights. Again, yeah, you haven't got to be playing like 50 meters away or whatever. But just a little bit of distance is fine. Typically, like where you can just see everyone is enough. And then when things happen, you walk up and support them. So when I say when things happen, this phrase, I mean
so there's triggers like the cooldowns and aggressive play, right?
Exactly, right? So that could be your casty walking up, right? That's an example. As you saw on the first point, defense, and third point as well. And second as well, on all points, to be honest. And then what else? Oh yeah, the ultimates too. So ults, I'll say friendly ults too. That could be a high noon, just any kind of distraction. So Bob is a distraction, Whole Hog is a distraction, or again things that make it safer for you to walk. So again, Valkyrie from your Mercy can make it safer for you to walk. Coalescence makes it safer for you to walk. Orbital Ray makes it safer for you to walk. But generally any ultimates really. There's also HP as well. So again, for example, if Iris is low, I mentioned in the very first fights, where you could actually walk up on the Orisa if she's low, or if your casty's playing really aggressively, right, and walking up on the Orisa, or there's some ultimate going down main, right, or maybe your Ashe is playing a really, really aggressive angle, so you're able to walk through a hotel, right? That's the key thing. I think this is by far the biggest thing. It's knowing when to walk up, and not just when, but who to help when you are walking up, right? I think in this VOD so far it's been the Cassidy, because he's been the one taking the angles, drawing the aggression, getting good picks on flanks, and you could be packing that. You could be enabling that entirely. That's by far the biggest thing I'd say. Second thing, I'll just say the full like positional rules. Positional rules. So
I got those written down.
Cover, LOS, distance, locations and whatnot. Went over the example on second point defense, right? So we could even go through some more examples here. So go back at first point, right? Alleyway is a pretty good case of that, right? So if you're playing the alleyway, you've got this sort of what do you call it? Like edge of the hotel's cover. You can see everything, right? So you've got LOS. You've got a defensive rotation because you can escape back here and you're fine. You've also got an aggressive rotation because you can walk through the hotel. and you've also got distance too, because you can with distance from the statue and distance from anyone walking in hotels. So you've got all those 4 rules there as well. That's how those 4 rules there will be visualized. If you're struggling to apply, one thing I would practically recommend is going into customs, because you've got solo hours in the game as well. It might be worth just going into a custom game, going in spectate mode like this, and then figuring out, okay, here's where the 4 rules would apply. Here is when I would walk up a little bit more aggressively in accordance with those 4 rules, right? It's something that I used to do back in the day, where I would just go into a custom game, I would go on Zenyatta, and I would just walk around the map. I would constantly question, okay, this would be a good position in this context, or if my cast or my someone walks here, this would be a good position here. It's a useful exercise to do. And then third thing, talk about positioning there enough already. I'll probably just say, again, awareness comes into like the full positional things as well. I'll probably just say, let me think. Pax didn't talk about that much. Yeah, okay, I'll say this. I'll say avoiding, playing, how do I say this? Like, not jeopardizing, mid-fight value by trying to play up super early for whip. And for reference, I don't even hate walking up for whip shots early. Like, it's just free ult charge a lot of the time. It's free scouting information a lot of the time. But again, when it comes to jeopardizing your position, I think second point's a good example of this, where you're playing this corner so close that you can never see anything because you're not playing back over here. But also, you're not controlling this high ground. You're not controlling this space over here. You're not controlling the important parts of the map because you're so close, and because you haven't got time to be able to rotate and get back to the high ground position there. So that's the important thing, I'd say. But yeah, not jeopardizing, again, mid-fight value by focusing or tunneling on getting a whip shot early. But yeah, those are I guess the 3 things I'd say. Any questions?
No.
Great.
I think we got a pretty good outline of what to work on here.
Cool. As always, if you do think of anything, do feel free to DM me anytime, and I'll try and get back to you on that.